Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. Listen to me, because this is the last time I'm going to say this. Put the truck down. I'm Anthony.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Katie.
I'm Jim.
I'm D-Brad.
Welcome to issue number 329 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this week's show, we're going to have the club discussion. We've got two books on deck here. We're going to be talking Godzilla versus Avengers, the one-shot that's within a 5-part miniseries, but they're all one-shots. So we're just talking about the Godzilla versus Avengers. And then we'll be following tradition with our Mickey Mouse, Disney, Donald Duck themed books with What If Donald Duck Became Iron Man? So we're going to cover both of those club discussion picks today. Then we're going to jump into the weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth. And we talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're old. We're going to talk about them there. So that is the setup for the show. Let's get right into it with the club discussion. All right, first up is Godzilla vs. Avengers. The original New Avengers return to face an unstoppable enemy, Godzilla. In the aftermath of a massive battle between Godzilla, Fin Fang Foom, and the Avengers and Jet Jaguar, S.H.I.E.L.D. tries to make sense of what went down, but everyone's telling a different story. What really happened during that faithful clash? Find out when Earth's mightiest heroes take on Earth's mightiest kaiju. This comic is done by David F. Walker, Georges Genti, Carl Story, Frank D'Armata, and VC's Corey Petit. As I mentioned earlier, this is a 5-issue miniseries. I think Kirby talked about some Godzilla, Marvel, probably the Spider-Man one, I think, in the past. There's a Hulk one out there. There's an X-Men one. I got a couple of those. But here we're talking about Godzilla versus Avengers. And one of the draws for me, even though I was going to get it anyways, but I got this all red cover here. He doesn't do interiors, but Mike and Laura all red have the variant cover for this. So these can all be read separately. So you're not committed to an entire thing. If you like what you see here, go ahead, pick up the other titles. But we're just going to be focusing on Godzilla versus Avengers. Godzilla has just been super popular in comics for the last handful of years now, coming out with many different crossovers and miniseries. It wasn't even that long ago that he was over with the distinguished competition with DC Comics and with King Kong and Godzilla and the Justice League. So there's just a lot of crossover and a lot of like original stuff from the Godzilla books, whether it be anniversary titles. There's just a lot of this like real interesting, like there's a Valentine's Day special that wasn't, it was a really good story, wasn't as cutesy as it sounds. So yeah, a lot of good Godzilla stuff, and now we're bringing them into the Marvel Universe here against the Avengers. The synopsis basically set it up, so we're going to basically jump right into it with our thoughts on Godzilla versus Avengers. And let's go over to Jim. What are your thoughts on this issue? Go ahead.
It was fun. I did not know some of these characters at all, like Fin Fan Foom. I've heard the name, but I don't think I've ever read anything with that character. Spider-Woman was also new. I'm very slightly familiar with Luke Cage, so it was nice to get to know some of these characters a little bit better. I am not a big kaiju monster movie fan. I've watched some. So it was interesting to see Godzilla's involvement with this big giant comic book dragon. And I really enjoyed it. I just wondered, is this an actual lineup for the current Avengers?
So D-Brad and I were talking off air earlier about that this is the lineup for the new Avengers, which was that a Bendis creation at the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bendis being the writer. And so this was the original lineup of when the new Avengers came out in comic books. So this definitely feels like this does a good job of just kind of placing it in the timeline of this. Like it's not having to connect to anything. You can just kind of read it as is, even if you aren't familiar with the team and stuff. So it's kind of a good entry point where you just kind of get a random time in the Marvel universe without really conflicting with anything that's going on. But yeah, this is the initial lineup for when Bendis co-created the new Avengers. So.
Took me a couple of times to see the name before it dawned on me, because this character in the book does not look like Colby Smulders at all.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Maria Hill. So yeah, Maria Hill, that was one of I believe Bendis's co-creations as well. And so that was a big deal when Kobe showed up as her in the first Avengers movie. But yep, she's so. And what year would you place this around? D. Brad, are we talking like early 2000s?
Yeah. 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 Maybe later, early 2000s. Yeah.
Maybe like a 2004 or 5, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah.
So yeah, that's when I think when this team was originated. Cool. Let's jump right over to D. Brad. Your thoughts on this issue?
Well, I did collect the new Avengers run, and before whenever Bendis started, I was a fan of Bendis, big fan at the time, so I collected his Ultimate Spider-Man run and his Daredevil run, and then I got into the Avengers and New Avengers. So the comic itself it takes place in that time period, and it seems like it's a bit of an homage to Bendis style, where there's characters sitting around talking, and and it's kind of witty banter, fun banter, but at the same time, I always would get annoyed when it would be a talking head on an entire page, or sometimes even more just talking pages. Like I think you got to put some acting into there, and not just have like a talking head. Well, at least the artist didn't reuse the same drawings over and over again like that. I've seen that happen in the past. They just reuse the drawing and then um and so it seemed like that was more of an homage to that era. Otherwise, I would have critiqued that, but as I don't like that. I don't like it when there's a talking pages of talking heads. You can still have dialogue and banter, but there should be something else going on, I think.
And before we move off of that topic, so that's
Yeah.
another thing that I brought that page to the Cartoonist by Night gentlemen, which
Hmm.
this is your first episode of Crimson Cowl, D. Brad is a co-star with me over at Cartoonist by Night. And I said that when I'm making comics, I usually take pictures and save certain pages of things of like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do like a sideways one, or I want to do, and I
Yeah.
specifically sent this where I'm like, oh, I want to do, the talking heads thing. And that's when the discussion started. And David Walker is a good friend of Brian Bendis. Matt Fife said that they taught college classes together in comics and stuff
Oh,
together.
okay.
So it is funny that it is that throwback to that specific run, and it's kind of cool that David Walker is the one to kind of helm this book and kind of honor his friend and that kind of really give the feel of that time period. But
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
whether D. Brad likes it or not, you will see a Talking Heads page in a future race, Christopher.
Oh, yeah, you can do parody stuff, so it fits.
Yeah. So I'll definitely. It's probably just going to be a whole page about them criticizing how they're all in Brady Bunch boxes or something. So
Yeah. It's kind of like what we're doing. Maybe I need to
yeah,
be more. I'll be more animated then, so I'm not
exactly.
talking.
So carry on with the review if you had more to say.
Okay. Yeah. Um, I was. And the artist George. Is that how you say his name?
George's Genti.
Yeah.
George's was a longtime artist for the Buffy comics.
Yeah, and yeah, I that's where I know him from, and I always was bothered by sometimes he would not finish noses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I would just want to like go in there and finish the noses, but it's like the nose isn't quite finished. Like he leaves it up to the colorist to fix it, and so that used to always bother me. But I like the way he draws Godzilla and Fin Fin Fang Foom, Fin Fang Foom. Yeah, I like the way he draws those guys because you don't have to worry about their noses there. And sometimes his characters look a little stubby. Uh, Um, like their proportions don't look right to me. Like their heads are too big for their bodies.
Okay.
Some, but sometimes it's perfect right on. So that's just always been my critique of that artist. And then I was interested in the Fin Fang Foom and Jet Jaguar. And so, have you ever seen a Godzilla movie with Jet Jaguar in it?
So that was going to be a question because at first I
Yeah.
thought it was Ultraman, but
Yeah,
maybe
me too. Yeah.
so. Can you shine some light on some Jet Jaguar, if anybody?
Yeah. So in 1973, he appeared in a Godzilla movie called what's it called? I think I wrote it down. Oh, Godzilla versus Megalon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna check that one out this weekend on one of the Godzilla channels that are free streaming.
See, when I saw this character show up, even though, I'm like, all right, and they called him Jet, so I'm thinking, okay,
Yeah.
maybe there's a legal reason they can't use Ultraman, so it's their own knockoff version or something, like our Americanized version of a Japanese toy, vice versa or something. But yeah, it's good to know that this is an established character, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's in some of the Godzilla shows and movies.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's some animated Netflix Godzilla series. He's in that. He's in one of those at least.
Cool.
And then Fin Fang Foom. Kind of a funny name. It's supposed to sound like it's Chinese, but it's just made up gibberish. Stan Lee said that he got the idea for it from a movie he saw when he was a kid that was called Chu Chin Chow.
Oh, okay.
And he always remembered the title.
And primarily Fin Fang Foom would be in Fantastic Four comics. Like,
I think he was an Iron Man later.
okay. Kirby?
Did they don't have pants on Fin Fang Foom in this one?
So
They do, yeah. He does. He's got
That
purple
picture you
shorts.
showed, it looked like he didn't have his shorts on.
he does,
Yeah.
and they
Okay.
actually have some great commentary on that fact too. So
Yeah, that always cracked me up.
That's really funny.
yeah, I always remember the character within like Fantastic Four, but yeah, showing up in Iron Man because Iron Man makes a reference to having Cowl with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the thoughts I had about it. But Chu Chin Chow inspired Fin Fang Foom.
This got me excited now. With we're entering, by the time people see this episode, we're within the same month, a couple weeks away from the Fantastic Four First Steps coming out. And while there's been no rumors or anything like that, but like I could totally see them like keeping Fin Fang Foom a secret to just be in like a little scene or something, just to that would be, but or put him in a Shang-Chi movie or something.
Yeah.
Let's jump over to Katie. Your thoughts on Godzilla versus Avengers?
Yeah. No deep thoughts. This was just plain fun. It felt like reading a summer action movie, which is pretty much what I want from a comic like this. I thought the Kaiju Busters was kind of a funny joke, and then they're like, "No, we're not the Kaiju Busters. We're Kaiju Hunters United," or something like that. And I like the idea that Fin Fang Foom is using a like literal like semi truck as like a Matchbox car toy. That was kind of funny to me. And that they're trying to interview this giant monster and get information from him. I will say, so originally I read this on my phone using kind of the guided view in Comixology, which was good for reading the text, but I missed out on some splash pages. So I pulled it up on my laptop and got to look at those great art pieces, which actually I think is probably the better way to read this comic because you get the full scope of giant monsters punching each other up. Yeah, like I said, just a pretty fun comic. I would read some more from this series. And yeah, it feels like all the best parts of a Michael Bay movie. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I loved it as well, especially when you started off with, I showed this a couple times, a big double splash page showing them. And the humor was spot on throughout. David Walker did a good job of just capturing some good Marvel humor, not taking this, too seriously, and
Yeah.
literally just having a lot of fun with it. And there's even some commentary from the characters about how this issue finishes, of just being like, oh, that's it? Like, it's just over? Like, so I do like how that's just flat out, discussed. And but yeah, it's and I like the credits treatment here. I think they did this in the other issues as well, where you just see like kind of like old style like newspaper, photograph type of layout. Just good design work and stuff throughout these books. And yeah, they're a lot of fun. I'm fairly certain I got all of these Godzilla books. Maybe I missed out on one, but after reading them, I'll definitely have to go back and see if I missed out on one or not. But
God,
Ghost Rider one, I think maybe.
the Godzilla had a Marvel series in the 70s.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
I was just wondering if those pictures at the beginning would they be from some of the 70s series? Because there were some appearances by Iron Man and Spider-Man
yeah. I
in the
had I had looked at that, and it was kind of you see some just the way like Thor is drawn and stuff too. You would assume that
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah.
it's very much of the era and of the style.
Yeah.
Like if they were to
Yeah.
do like a little throwback, but especially yeah. I mean, all you need to look at is Iron Man's face in there, and hold on, it's hard. He's almost right on the crease here.
Uh,
Um, just
yeah.
looking at his design, I think it says it all just to kind of put it in the time period. But it is a
Oh,
good question on whether or not this was designed specifically for this, or if it
yeah.
was literally ripped from the pages as it
Yeah. Because the
suggests.
um the um the front cover you have there, it looks like it's the same
Like the
like is that
variant.
Godzilla is that the Godzilla font title that they use for all Godzilla comics?
That's a great question.
Because it looks like it's got the old Marvel Comics group and the little picture of Godzilla. I was just wondering if that was the old font from the old
And
70s Marvel comic.
and I don't know if the other because I have a variant cover, so maybe this is something that all red did, or is this what the title looks like on all the books? Does anyone else
Okay.
have any confirmation based on your covers at all? If the logo treatment was altered or anything, but yeah, it's a good question to kind of look into that. Just that
Yeah.
design work, but yeah. Anybody else have any kind of lingering thoughts or comments or criticisms or anything?
No, it's made me want to watch Godzilla versus Megalon now.
Yeah, I'm totally interested to learn more about Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, this was a lot of fun. So definitely go out and check them out if you're a fan of Godzilla. I think these probably do a good job of like if you come in for Godzilla, you stay for the Avengers, and especially if you get somebody like Fin Fang Foom in here. So
Ad in
Yeah.
the back of my copies shows that Godzilla versus Thor comes out this Wednesday,
Oh,
coming Wednesday. Yeah,
and whether or not this is the oh, you know what? Okay, now looking at all these other pictures and the other covers and stuff, this logo treatment is exclusive to the All Reds.
yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that's the 1960 Godzilla title logo.
So yeah, based on his drawing of Iron Man, even though we have other modern characters and such, but All Red most likely made that creative decision to go that route. So because yeah, this looks like it's the logo across all of the main comics here.
Okay, yeah.
But anyways, any other lingering thoughts, or we move on to the next one?
Oh yeah. I just looked up online the Marvel Comics #1 of Godzilla from 1970, and it's the same font.
Nice.
It's just missing King of the Monsters underneath it.
And that's a big debate within this issue. So definitely check it out to find out who truly is the king of the monsters.
That's right.
All right. we will move on to our next book here, and this is one of the reasons why D. Brad is here, not only because we enjoy his company and his fun facts and all that extra research that I didn't even bother doing, but we keep talking about these Disney-related books, these crossovers, and taking, Disney characters, your Mickey Mouses, your Goofies, and your Donald Ducks, and putting them into Marvel titles in a reimagining of retelling of sorts. So we are talking about what if Donald Duck became Iron Man, from fowl to shellhead. Inspired by the very first appearance of Iron Man in Tales of Suspense number 39, Donald Duck finds himself in the clutches of the Beagle Boys, forced to build a machine designed to crack into his Uncle Scrooge's money bin. Donald has other plans and builds the ultimate suit of armor. Can the fearless fowl foil the plans of the Beagle Boys and make it to his date with Daisy Duck? This comic is done by Steve Bailing, Luca Barberi. We have a newcomer, at least from the previous issue, Donald Safridi, Lucio Rividati, and Laura Tartaglia. Once again, my apologies. But we will hopefully make up for it with a review of this book here. What if Donald Duck became Iron Man? I'm showing off the Scotty Young cover. Kirby, you got this book. Yep, I figured you would get the Scotty Young one as well. If you want to kick us off, feel free to do that. Your thoughts on what if Donald Duck became Iron Man?
And I'm not a big fan of Iron Man to start with, but this one wasn't as exciting as the other ones, to say that. But I don't see the Beagle Boys as being intelligent ever from all the times I've seen them in comics, but they were able to make a pretty interesting mosquito drone. And then you got this giant mosquito right next to your head, and you don't even swat at it or notice it or nothing. So it's a pretty big skeeter. But the thing that disappointed me the most is they show when they did this. I mean, since it is his first time being Iron Man, I expected him to go off the Metal Iron Man, the silver one, but instead they give him a pile of stuff that doesn't have any color or anything really to it, but then he's able to make his red and gold suit out of that pile of stuff without having paint cans or anything to make the metal look so nice. But yeah, I was hoping for a little more to the story. I just felt it was a little lackadaisical on the whole Iron Man character is starting out and stuff like that. So he instantly knows how to use everything and do everything with the powers. I don't know. It just didn't feel like an Iron Man story to me. But
fair enough. Jump over to Katie. Thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, so I have a similar perspective as Kirby does. Overall, I enjoyed this issue. I did feel like it was just a little light all across the board. I would have liked a little bit more action, a little bit more time developing that Iron Man armor. This very much feels like it would be a short amongst anthologies versus like an actual full comic, and that's fine. Some positives. I love the superhero league. That was awesome. Call me Iron Man. Always very satisfying. Very funny that Donald's like, oh, if I do this, like I'll get Uncle Scrooge to forgive some of my debts, and it's just the teeniest little debt. Yeah, that feels like true to life for sure. I felt like this book had a very retro feel, and I enjoyed that a lot. That's something I think I've appreciated about pretty much all of these comics, is they feel like this could have come out in the 60s or it could have come out last week. And I love that they're consistent with that style. What else? Yeah, I liked it. It could have just used a little bit more. Gosh, there was something I was just looking at I wanted to bring up. Well, can't have been all that important because I don't remember what it was now. But yeah, it was an okay issue. Could have used a little bit more, but I still think as a part of a series, it works really well. Yeah, that's my thoughts. What do you think?
Good. Let's jump over to D. Brad. Your thoughts on this issue?
Well, the version I had covered by the artists, and it was like more like the one of the Iron Man covers anyway. It's got little panels of him putting on the armor on the cover, and then there's a little simple pose. So it's a pretty simple cover. And I like the very first page where he's hacking through the jungle, and then you get like a reveal. Now they spoil the reveal here by having it on that side, the first page on that side of the page. Because the page that I read, it's on the other side. Interesting. And you get to turn the page to the reveal of where they are. Yeah, that's the cover that Jim has. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah. And so then we get to meet Gyro again. And I think he's been in some of the comics, has he? Well, he's been in comics I've read about Donald Duck.
Yeah,
Not sure.
I think so. I think he was in the Fantastic Four one.
Maybe. Okay, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. But the highlight for me in this one is this is the first time this artist has drawn any of these what ifs, and he does have a story that doesn't have as much action, and it's not as epic in scale. But what he is strong in is poses and facial expressions, especially I don't know if you guys can show the one with Gyro where he first does this expression with his hands and
Yeah.
Like that one?
yeah, that one. Yeah. No, the one no. It's more like
Act it out for us, D. Brad. Oh,
it's
like
like
that one?
yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
that one. I like that one. And then another one I really like that stood out where Donald gets smacked on the head um by a lollipop from the Beagle Boys.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I like that. That was good. And the Beagle Boys poses were all fun as well. But yeah, I made a note here that it's a very simple story, not an epic end of the world thing. And so it works as a simple story. It's very clear, easy to follow. It does seem like it would be like a first issue, not, and all the other ones try to tell like 5 issues in one.
Yeah.
So it is a simple story, but I liked it being simple. And the one I really liked is the Iron Man suit. Um, I did like that. In this one, he's actually called Iron Duck and not Iron Donald Duck.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Right? He gives away his secret identity like all the other comics.
Yeah, we did talk about that in the past issues where they just flat out,
Yeah.
their actual names roped in with it.
What I do like, I was kind of surprised he was able to put together the suit and build the suit he did have instructions, I guess. But still, it doesn't seem like it's something Donald would be able to do. But I don't know, should I spoil this or not?
So at the start of every podcast, we don't hear it in the recording, but every issue we talk about on the show may contain spoilers. So
okay.
Feel free to say what you want.
Okay. Well, I like the reveal of what the suit's actually for. It's been invented not for fighting crime or villains, but for gardening. And
Sure.
everything he has and uses has to do with yard work and gardening tools. So it's got like a rake and it's got twine and you got the air blower, the leaf blower. He uses all those for it. So that was some humor in that I liked. And then I was surprised. I thought this was going to be the final one, but there's another one with Goofy coming as Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's on our club list as well. So we'll be talking about that in a future one.
Yeah.
In addition to, there's still that another Uncle Scrooge, Earth's Mightiest Duck issue as well. So,
oh wow!
But as far as the what ifs, we still have at least the Goofy. So,
right on.
Nice. We'll jump over to Jim. Your thoughts on this issue?
like D. Brad, I really thought the issue with the suit being made for lawn care and then actually doing that in the story was, using those tools was really clever. I thought at the beginning when we first saw Gyro that it was going to be that Gyro built the suit, but at least in part we did get Donald, maybe not inventing it, but at least he did build it, so that was cool. And I loved that big full page I am Iron Duck page, that was good. Um, and since he is here, I do have a couple questions. Maybe he can answer for me. What is with the 167716? Is that something that the Beagle Boys always do? And what
Oh
the
yeah,
significant numbers are?
yeah. That's their names. It's their prison numbers.
Yeah,
And
but
so
is it? Why are they always like so close together? Is there a reason why they use those digits?
Yeah, they're all like slightly off at the end, so you
yeah,
have
no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it's just slightly off. Yeah,
they all start with 176, but then you have 167,
yeah,
176, and 716.
yeah. It has nothing to do with the Marvel universe. That's the 616, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's something I have to look up then.
interesting little detail though.
Yeah, it is.
Like the ending where he gets a little cute little scene with Daisy at the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Um, yeah, overall I really liked it. What I liked about it was that kind of what D. Brad said, where it was very much a one issue thing and not trying to condense like a whole story arc into a one shot type of deal. I can best relate it to if you watch Iron Man now in 2025 after having over 30 MCU movies, and we've seen the biggest spectacles and the biggest Avengers and the multiverse and everything. But going back to that Iron Man, like while I still love it and think it's like a perfect film and it's so enjoyable, even knowing that like I felt the pace of this in the sense of like we don't have any other cameos, we don't need any of this
Mhm.
other stuff. It is very much just concentrating on the Iron Man related characters. I mean, we don't even get a Pepper Potts in this, whether or not you want to call Daisy a Pepper Potts, but nothing's ever referred
Mhm.
to as that. And so what I really liked is that going into this wondering how this opening page with him kind of going through the weeds in the garden, like, all right, how does this turn into an Iron Man story? So I liked the whole premise of seeing, wanting to get the blueprints for this digging machine, and then, him being captured, and then, once he was taken to the warehouse, and I'm like, okay, now we're getting into like he's being tossed in a cave and he's forced to make a super weapon type of thing. So I like kind of getting to that point, not knowing based off of that beginning, not knowing what angle they were approaching, knowing that it was going to be, harkening back to the original Iron Man, which was what 1964, maybe five, three, two.
One.
Do I hear one?
I'm just in an echo chamber. I think it's 1962. I think it's 1962 because it would have been before Avengers. So because Avengers was like 63, I think so.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, actually, it might be 1961. Anyways, how
If I
about
remember correctly, wasn't the original Iron Man's origin story set in the jungles of Southeast Asia rather than Afghanistan?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
up,
With
yeah.
everything seen in this book, hacking through the
Mm,
overgrown a little bit more appropriate.
there we go. Yeah, I'm now curious to dig into my masterworks and revisit that first
62.
story.
62.
62 it is? Okay. I'm glad that I had one of the six answers I provided. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, I like seeing that. I like the pacing, and I can understand too that it wasn't as exciting as the other one. So I definitely get that. But I like it, like how I like that first Iron Man movie of like, all right, it's not trying to do too much. It's just trying to tell its specific thing and not cram in like the Captain Marvel one. While I dug the heck out of that issue, that one was taking stuff from that like the first six issues and kind of taking things from different issues and putting them into one. So, but yeah.
I think with the whole Daisy thing in the end and stuff, I'm so used to Donald being a goof up. And I figured, how does he instantly know how to fly with this thing? He instantly knows how to use all the weaponry. I get it that he had some directions, instructions, and stuff. But instead of ending it with him and her on top of the thing, I would have liked to have seen him come back to Gyro's place and clean his yard. Use what the suit was made for, or something like that. Just
Like do the yard work with it.
yeah, those little quirky Donald things. He always ends up in the end going back to work for Uncle Scrooge or something like that, having to pay his penance or whatever, do
Yeah, he
his
always
chores.
has bad luck, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the only bad luck they have at the end is that he's stuck in the costume.
Yeah, he forgot to make a button to get the armor off. So yeah, so he was upset that he didn't get to hug Daisy at the end. So, but yeah. Any other closing thoughts anybody had?
No.
Nope.
So
All right. Well, that will do it for another What If story out of the Disney Marvel crossovers. We have more Minor Arcana. We've got What If Goofy Became Spider-Man. We have the Infinity Paws #1 one-shot. And the Uncle Scrooge, Earth's Mightiest Duck. So those are some upcoming club discussions in future episodes. But we do have another segment in the show, and that is the weekly reviews. By the time this episode releases, if future Anthony does his job, we should just be on the weekend of a brand new Superman movie coming out. So I've been holding on to these new releases. Thankfully, we had another one that I'll talk about later that came out this week. But it is the summer of Superman here in 2025, and I am bringing Superman Unlimited #1. The summer of Superman heats up with a brand new ongoing series taking the DCU by storm. When an asteroid the size of Metropolis hurtles towards collision with planet Earth, the Justice League dispatches Superman to avert the crisis. But a sinister threat lurks within that will change the world like never before, and this danger glows green. The last son of Krypton must risk everything to save his adopted home, the very home which now tries to kill him from complete destruction. The Man of Steel is poised to fly like he's never flown before in this new Cornerstone series. This is done by Dan Slott, Raphael Albuquerque, Marcelo Malo, and Dave Sharp. Dan Slott's my favorite comic book writer, and he is jumping over to Marvel, or from Marvel to DC to write Superman. The synopsis said something alluding to the fact that this would be his first DC work, but he did some work on some Arkham Asylum books many, many years ago. But so, yeah, I don't know his 100% track record with DC Comics, but here he is taking on this Superman title that does connect with the overall ongoing Superman-related books and things like that. So what happens in this book does play effect into the other titles from what I read through research, because I am not reading the other books. But so this isn't its own Elseworlds or anything, is basically what I'm trying to say. So Dan Slott getting to write Superman in the summer of Superman, the summer of a brand new movie of Superman coming out to the theaters. Dan Slott does a good job of basically, this almost serves as like, if you could write your last Superman story, this feels like the beginning of a last Superman story, in the sense of like, he is getting to kind of go through all of the origin points, kind of looking back, a lot of flashback stuff of like, you know, of landing to Earth and meeting his parents and, you know, going through high school, Smallville, all of that stuff. We get those through a couple pages with some new dialogue and some new art. So it's always fun that these writers and artists, you know, 80 plus years into a character, get to have their moment of telling their origin story without it being a 6-issue origin story. Just being like, all right, here's us getting to play in those waters, just to kind of remind people like, all right, here's the Superman story. We're seeing all the milestone stuff. You know, we're seeing Jonathan Kent. We're seeing the death of Superman and Doomsday. Like, all of that kind of stuff, all of the history of Superman is kind of touched upon while catching it up to this current, you know, it's a classic, you know, biggest tragedy moment of a asteroid coming to Earth, and it's all of the cliches that you would expect in a superhero comic book. But in the third act, it takes an interesting spin, which I won't talk about here, just in case people want to check this one out. So while it may seem very cookie cutter, I think a lot of that was purpose on purpose, to kind of tell a classic Superman story, but then give your third act twist of saying, "Oh, well, this is the new lore that we're starting, and a whole new kind of look on planet Earth," and it makes me really excited for the next ones. Just based on my current comic reading habit, I've been doing a lot of one issues, and then if I like it, I'll pick up the trade. So I'm excited to dive into Superman for the first volume when they come out with it. But Dan Slott did a lot of great work here. The artist, Raphael Albuquerque, awesome pairing. I should show some of that stuff as I'm talking here, just to show some of your artwork for Recurrent Superman. And in the opening pages too, just do a lot of classic stuff where you just see Superman doing Superman things, saving boats and saving cats out of trees, and everything that you would expect this superhero to do, he's doing it. And it's fun for a writer like Dan Slott, who's been a comic book super fan forever, and playing with other DC characters and just getting to throw them into there as well. Kirby, you just held up what I think is a variant cover. Is this of the Superman book Unlimited? Yep. So you read this one as well then, huh?
Yeah.
So I really have nothing else to say. So do you have any thoughts on this issue at all?
I enjoyed the story. They do give you a lot of past history and stuff, but it is done decently. The only thing I had a problem with was the Superman artwork. He have moments where he had a really pudgy-like face and his cheeks were off or something like that, and that was kind of throwing me off. But yeah, it's a nice, if you know nothing about Superman, is the perfect book to jump on with, but you learn a lot of stuff from his past. A nice quick history lesson. And yeah, I had to pick it up because of the Krypto cover.
That's the Krypto one. And because, and I think it's right around the corner here, so let me grab it because I just saw it earlier. There was a couple variant covers that I saw as well, and I was excited to pick it up as I found it right here. So this is me just making sure there's no dead air. I am back, everybody. There is a special James Gunn and David Cornsweet, the new actor for Superman. So they have a fun variant cover of those two on there. And so, yeah, I had to pick up that one as well.
Don't remember seeing that one.
Who drew that one?
Great question. The signature's really small on here, and my glasses aren't nearby. And, yep. It's going to be hard to get cameo variant cover artist. Oh, Dan Mora. That looks right. Yep. Dan Mora.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yep. And because this is part of the synopsis and the opening pages, I did want to show this just to kind of show the giant scope of this asteroid that is crashing to Earth. So here's just some classic drawings here and just classic stuff you would expect. And Kirby said it well too, which is saying that if you don't know anything about Superman and you see the movies coming out and you'll pick it up, or you saw a dog on a cover, you saw a director on the cover, basically that might be enough to get you to pick it up and just be like, oh, I get what's going on, and now you just have a new story. And I'm very excited for the world-shattering, universe-altering type of scenario that happens post that big scene. So, but yeah, I'll leave that for anybody who wants to check it out. So yeah,
have any of y'all had the Superman Blizzard from Dairy Queen? I delivered it the other day and it looks really good. Is it Superman ice cream?
Yep, I did have it. It's got some cookie dough bits in there too, I think. Cookie dough chunks.
Okay.
No.
And just I'll grab it in the next segment, but I had to wash out and dry the cup because I'll be keeping the cup for you. Yeah. But yeah, it is the Summer of Superman. That is part 1 of 3 of my Superman-centric reviews. Keep listening to the episode for the other ones. In the meantime, let's jump over to Kirby. What you got?
I'm guessing this is a one shot, but Moon Knight, side by side, it's Mark Spector's Moon Knight. I don't know if that was a separate run because I have some other Mark Spector Moon Knight issues, but this was not the number one of that run, but it's side by side with Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu. And yeah, you get basically Moon Knight's out on his crawling missions, doing his stuff. And then he sat there and gets home, crawls through. I don't know why he crawls through his window to get in his house, but into his apartment. But Shang-Chi's sitting there on the floor, and basically he's there because he needs help on a mission. There's a madman that's kind of running a cult, and this has some fun banter back and forth. Mostly on Moon Knight's side, I don't see either one of the characters very banter worthy, and they're usually not that comedic. They're both more serious usually, but Moon Knight keeps trying to crack things up with Shang-Chi, but he just keeps his uh, normal pace of just being serious about everything. But they go off to find out what's up with this character and see if they can find out like where he's located. And they come across a pyramid, just this tiny little pyramid out in the middle of the woods. Well, all of a sudden it's like a clown car and a ton of mummies just start coming out, way more mummies than could actually fit in the thing. So they ended up battling with them, and they find out that they're all robotic mummies. And before the mummies even get there, the way they find out about some stuff about the madman, I could be wrong. Oh, no, they're there. First off, before they even get deep in the woods, there's these three bats that are following them around, and the bats have a lisp. So everything they're saying is like invading subject now in sector E. It's like they're robots, but yet they have a lisp. Even the mummies had the lisp and stuff. And so they keep battling through everything that they come across. And eventually have to take a path where they get to the area that the castle, the bad guys building is, but starts out with a bunch of little traps that they have to go through here. And they basically find out that there's no way all those robotic mummies could come out of the pyramid without there being enough room for it. So there has to be a trapdoor or something, and then they go through the pyramid, it goes deeper in. They find out that there's these little things, you got little parodies of all kinds of characters from restaurants and stuff like that. You got the big boy pointing the way, so you think you're headed towards the head guy at that moment. But little clues and stuff, you get little things that refer to characters like Batman and stuff in here. They end up in a room where they have to do a bunch of things, and once they get through those things, all of a sudden this giant brain that's got all these words written on it and stuff comes up out of the floor, and they end up having to take that out. And Moon Knight tells Shang-Chi to follow the words and use aggression on it. That's how he takes down the brain eventually. And then he's spiked, and there's a skeleton that's sitting in this throne, and it's like everything's based off that as being like the warlord, the head, whatever. But you see these characters with this armor that's just completely full of these spikes. And while battling, they end up taking one apart, and you see a person's head. So they figure they got the head character. And once they get a little deeper in the battle, we find out that we're dealing with a Wizard of Oz type character. It's a little dude that's controlling that spike baddie. The rest are robotics controlled. But then you also find out that this character itself is a robot also. So that's not the bad guy either. So, but while they're doing that, we find out about all the not captives, but all the cult members. And they're standing on top of it. All of a sudden, the floor turns clear and they can see that there's tons of spikes underneath. And each one of these squares has a trap door that the little dude can get his hands on and control and open up and drop them into the spikes. And so that's why they battle him and basically take his head off and stuff. But then you see him with the skeletal body, and apparently that's who this little dude was worshiping, but we never really find out who was behind him. So you don't get to see the main master of the cult. They have some nice pinups in the back. And then you get a nice little cartoony story of basically a movie producer trying to set up a set, and with the Moon Knight. And while he's doing it, he's throwing all these other options out there, these things that they could do and stuff. And it included a bunch of other characters like Devil Dinosaur, and that's also where thought that was also where they made the Batman appearance, but also where they they thought about, well, we could do this style story, and it's a Batman story. They wanted to do another story, and it crossed over with a Devil Dinosaur Moon Boy story. It's like they just kept going back and forth, and Moon Knight's like, no, and the director's just trying to come up with something goofy. But it's a fun little like 5-page story in the back. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I got some comics that I'm pulling out, deciding if I'm going to sell them or not. And I'm not big on Moon Knight anymore, but this one I really enjoyed, so I'm going to end up keeping this one. But yeah, I like anything parodied, done up that way. But yeah, it was fun seeing those two team up. Two people with not really much fun banter, but they actually pulled it off a little bit in this one.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right. We will jump over to Katie. What you got for us?
Okay, so I have Shangri-La Frontier Volume 2, From Trash Game Hunter to God Tier Game Master. Story is by Katarina, and the art is by Ryosuke Fuji. So I think I reviewed Volume 1 probably about, I don't know, 6-9 months ago on the podcast, and I thought, well, I'll check out Volume 2, give it a shot. So it centers around a gamer whose gamer tag is Sunroku, and he starts out, he kind of likes to play old, cruddy, obscure, bad games, and he finishes his most recent one. It's like, I'm going to go down to the game store and trade these in and see what I should play next. And the person working there is like, hey, have you played Shangri-La Frontier? And it's like a virtual reality MMO. And so Volume 1 is about him going in that, and he stumbles upon kind of a legendary endgame boss fight right at the beginning by accident. In fact, it's so legendary, nobody has even found it yet. And that gives him some unique loot, a whole bunch of XP. And then, that's Volume 1. Volume 2 is honestly not a ton happens story-wise, but we get a bunch of action. So by defeating this boss and doing some jobs for effectively the Rabbit Mafia, no, it doesn't make sense, but just go with it. Sunroku gets a little assistant who kind of like feeds him information and forms a party with him and helps him along with this game. It's an NPC called Magical Bunny Emule, or Emule, Emul. And so Emule's this cute little bunny in a top hat, and who's like, get out of town because otherwise everyone's going to see, my little NPC, and they're going to be like, oh, what a cute bunny, and want to know where I found, this encounter, and then I have to tell them. And he kind of wants to keep all the loot for himself and get really good at this game so he can be like number one. And inevitably, course, other players are like, "Oh wow, where'd you get that?" And taking screenshots and like dropping his gamer tag in the comments. So he gets out of town and he's going to start practicing his new moves, which is going all right until an enemy appears called the Mudraker, and a Mudraker is much higher level than he's at. So we get some good bad guy punch 'em ups, and he does defeat the Mudraker barely with a lot of help from Emil. And yeah, honestly, that's a lot of this book. Every once in a while, so he's in the VR world, we'll see like, his stats or his score going up on the computer screen to remind us that, he is inside a game. And, people, of course, hear about this, so they start wanting to set up PvP battles with him. And a competitor from another game that he has played is like, oh, I think I know who that is. And they're going to jump in and try and form a party with him after they kick his butt. And then the story ends kind of on a cute note that I would like to see them develop more. A family member is like, well, Sunroku's always playing these weird games and I'm not. And, I practice and he never lets me play with them. But maybe if I sign in and make a new character, I could play with him in this game, which is very sweet. And, I hope that they do get to play together some more. Yep. A lot of fighting, different characters, different monsters. It's honestly a very good complement to the Avengers versus Godzilla book that we read earlier, because it's pretty similar in that. And I will say he's a very over-the-top hero. So if you like that trope of someone who is, an epic hero, it's automatically like really good at things and can just, go toe-to-toe with whatever enemy that they come up against, I think you'll enjoy this book. If you don't, or that trope really annoys you, I'm going to be honest, you probably will not enjoy this book, and I don't know that I would recommend it. Another thing is you get a lot more out of this if you've played an MMO, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. So like big examples would be like World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online. If you've played that, you're going to understand a lot of the references, a lot of the vocabulary. If you haven't, it's probably just going to be a fighting story about a guy fighting in a video game. I give it an A+ for creativity. If you like shoujo manga, you're going to enjoy this book. I'm always more of a story gal rather than, hey, I need, just pages and pages of fighting superpowered bad guys. Although a little bit is fine. I don't know that I'm going to continue this series. And I don't think it's anything bad. It's just not necessarily catching my interest, but maybe you'll like it, because I think there's like at least 10 volumes, and I think it has an anime on Crunchyroll. So if that sounds interesting to you, you should check out Shangri-La Frontier. And that's closing my review on volume 2.
Excellent. All right, we are going to jump into our guest, D. Brad. What you got for us?
Okay, yeah. This book I was hoping to have last time I was on the show, but it didn't arrive till after the show ended. So it's a book about Donald Duck, of course, and it's smaller than I thought it was going to be in terms of, not in terms of pages, but in terms of how big it is. Yes, it's like a hand, it fits nice in the hand, but panels are big enough. Like they're not going to be like reading a Tintin that's made for big pages, and then it's shrunk down. It's hard to read, and so because I think the original series, the comic series that this is made in, Topolino, or no, that would be Topolino would be Mickey Mouse. I forget what Daffy Duck's comic is called in Italy. It'll come to me. No, it won't. But this one was from his 90th birthday, which was in 2024, I think. And this is the English version. It just came out in 2025. And it's one writer, Italian writer. Of course, it was translated to English. And it's called Donald Duck Magic and Mayhem. And if you look on the cover, there is no villain, because this is one of those stories where the conflict isn't a hero versus a villain. It's more of the hero against himself, but not a literal himself. It's like it's about him being challenged with the view of himself, how he feels about himself, how he views himself. And so it kind of goes through the the uh, um, the idea that it's not easy being Donald Duck, and that's how he sees it. He just wants to live a normal life, but he does go on ventures, and misadventures, but he always stumbles. Things don't go his way. That's how he feels.
Yeah. Got
And
that Peter Parker luck, that Parker luck.
yeah. He does have some success as the Duck Avenger. That's a superhero that he is. And but that's of course people don't know him as Donald Duck because it's like a secret identity. But he has this idea that um, if something worse is going to happen, it will. So he's just kind of feeling down on himself until he comes across this app, phone app. That's a genie. So it's like a modern twist with the genie. So it's through the smartphone XL Genie, it's called, and so it gives him one magic wish per day, and he and it's kind of about what's he going to use it for? Is he going to use it to get rid of his temper, which often spoils things for him, or is it going to be uh, change how the world sees him? And so he tries that for a while, and he uses it for making himself look better than he is, and how he's a better treasure hunter than Uncle Scrooge. And um, and then it kind of comes to him realizing um, um, because he kind of goes through like this, like his life, and he kind of realizes that, you know, how the hero kind of sees like, oh, maybe my life isn't as bad as I thought it was. And maybe what I wish, the things I'm wishing for actually make my life worse, would make my life worse. And so it does have a really interesting twist at the end where he and the genie go through like a little philosophical chat at the end. And it has that kind of a neat twist. How they haven't had this isn't the first time they've had this conversation because he always wishes the genie to make him forget this. And then it ends up happening again and again. It kind of so it's kind of the genie reveals that this has happened before. It's going to happen again. Is he's going to go through this self doubt about himself again and then come to the same realization. And so I was surprised with the philosophy of Donald reflecting on himself. It does have 5 chapters, and so each chapter is drawn by a different artist, but they draw pretty similar in style. There seems to be an Italian duck style. It has like kind of thicker, bolder lines. So it does look like it's drawn by the same person most of the time, unless you take a good look and compare pages from the beginning to the end. But there's some of his relatives make guest appearances in the story as well. But yeah, I was surprised that I liked it. It had a little more depth than a usual Donald Duck comic.
I was gonna say, yeah, it sounded like it had a deeper story than we.
Yeah. hmm
Okay.
Maybe because it's the 90th anniversary, so it's kind of like a reflect on the character.
Yeah. Cool. All
Mhm.
right. The summer of Superman continues with Supergirl #1. Kara Zor-El has been a key member of the super family in Metropolis, but what happens when she strikes out on her own? Follow Kara as she returns to her roots in Midvale, home of Supergirl. But how could this be? Our hero has not been back in years, and the protector of that town has been saving the day for weeks. Can Supergirl stop the imposter before they steal her fresh start and life? This is done by Sophie Campbell, who does the writing and the pencils, and the art, the inking. Colors by Tamara Bonvillain, and we have letters by Becca Carey. All right, brand new Supergirl series, and existing in the DC All-In label, blah, blah, blah. Nothing in this book directly kind of interacts with what I talked about in the Superman Unlimited. I don't know if that stuff's going to eventually, cross over or anything like that. But I want to say that it is very much a Supergirl story. Much like Superman Unlimited, it does a good job of really kind of giving you Good introduction to the character, a lot of back history stuff. So they're really doing a good job of like, all right, we have new number ones. Who knows? Maybe it was only a year since the last new number one, but they're at least giving the fresh start for the sake of anybody who might be coming in off the heels of the Superman movie. What this issue does a really good job of is that it starts off with something fun. And if Kirby didn't pick up this issue, maybe this will catch his attention. But you have, let's see here, the character. I want to get the character name, Princess Shark. Princess Shark. Her first character on the first page here, and Supergirl's coming in to take care of Princess Shark, who is destroying Metropolis. And
wearing an octopus? Is that an octopus for a skirt?
Yeah, let me get back to it here. It's basically like part of her dress is, I don't know if it's a real life octopus or if that's part of the design. I'd have to look into details. See if the eyes are moving or not. So yeah, it's hard to tell, but
I would say it's a real one because those other shark characters, other than King Shark, are pretty rude to the rest of the fish in the ocean.
So yeah, good chance that could possibly be very well a real, or at once a real octopus. But yeah, so it's a real quick battle. It's over within a page or two because Supergirl and Krypto are off basically enjoying the adventure. They're going through the routine. A lot of this issue takes place with her doing her she does like routine checks on the city of Kandor, the bottled city of Kandor. There's a funny little joke with Streaky the Super Cat right in the beginning where Karo makes sure that Streaky does not tip over the jar containing the shrunken city of Kandor. So much like what cats would do of just simply standing there and just knocking things off of tables just to be jerks. So Kara gives a little warning not to do that. And that jumps right into another battle. So we see a lot of good action right up front. And Supergirl is presented with an interesting, not a job offer, but she is by the courts in Kandor, they're offering that they would give her this prisoner who would kind of be out on parole in a way, but almost act as a ward for Supergirl, like a Robin to her Batman in a way. And it's a very interesting situation. I'll leave that for the reader to check out what character we're dealing with there. But the core of this issue is her getting a call from her parents here on Earth, who are part of the DEO, I believe, and they're saying how they're basically on leave. They're going to go back to Midville. They're going to throw a big 4th of July party. They're all going to just try to get back to having normal lives. And they mentioned to Kara that they would love to have her there to visit. So this whole issue is essentially about Kara Zor-El and Krypto going back to Midvale, and upon going back, alluded to in the synopsis, was coming across this billboard here with a drawing of Supergirl and going through the town and realizing that this whole Midvale is very excited about Supergirl. She's undercover as Kara, as was it the Kara Danvers, but she has another name in there too. Linda something, right? So she's debating like how she's going to live her life, kind of restart her life in a way, and what kind of an identity. But she's realized that Midville is really celebrating Supergirl, and that is because, and I will do this as a tease here, that is because somebody else is acting as Supergirl with a super bunny, by the way.
Nice.
So that is kind of the setup for this issue, is that there are two Supergirls, and the Supergirl that we know to be the true one, just based on the drawings and whatever, and the inner monologues, she is kind of looked at as the imposter. So this other Supergirl that has kind of invaded Midvale has the entire Midvale city on her side, while our quote-unquote real Supergirl is an outcast, and she's treated as the imposter. So does a really good job of wanting you to get the next one to kind of see what's going on with these two Supergirls. There is a last page thing that really just kind of sticks the knife in and turns it a little more into her identity kind of being stolen by this mysterious person. We don't really concentrate on this bunny, but Krypto and the bunny have a little standoff there in a panel. So yeah, this is another one, like I said, with the Superman review, just based on my my relationship with keeping up with comics, that buying the first issue, I dug it enough. I'll buy the volume 1 trade when it's advertised. So yeah, as far as the Summer of Superman titles, I'm 2 for 2 as far as I need to read more of them. So yeah, that'll be my review. This is just the variant cover here for Supergirl #1. And before D-Brad asks me who the variant artist is, I am going to say that I don't know.
Who's the variant artist?
Oh, thank you for asking. Man, either the print is getting smaller or
Glasses. Put on the glasses.
my
Put on
eyes.
the glasses.
Okay, so now here's a good promotion here. If you're listening to this on iTunes, just the audio version, why are you doing that? Subscribe to Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes so you can see that I, Anthony Laatsch, the host of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club, have a secret identity. Here we go.
Hey, who are you? I don't recognize you.
Whoa.
Where'd Anthony go?
Did I just, what was this? What is this? I'm here for a Lord of the Rings book club. We're talking about
Oh, well, you're in the right place.
Oh, perfect. Let's see here. Yeah, this printing is really tiny to begin with. Yeah, I have no idea who drew this one.
It's okay.
Yeah, I can't read the signature, but I will show off the regular cover, which is on the inside, because this is a cardstock type of cover. So if people are looking for this book, this is the main cover by Sophie Campbell, by the way, who did a long run on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW. So Sophie is jumping over to DC and doing the writing and art chores for the Supergirl book, at least for issue #1, and assumingly for the first arc. Anyways, Supergirl #1, check it out. And while this other person goes away, Super Anthony returns.
Oh, welcome back, Anthony.
Yep, I had to step out for a second. There was I left the lights on in my car. Yes, that is what I went to go do. Kirby?
Yeah, while you're showing that, I'm like, did I get something like that in Free Comic Book Day? Or because I don't remember having the Supergirl covers or anything, even though I've been my eyes been catching some really nice ones that they've been putting out with these latest runs. But yeah, in the back of the Superman Unlimited.
Oh yeah,
the teaser for it, and that's how I remember Streaky with the thing and cracking up when I was reading that. And yeah, Krypto's got some issues. He's wanting to eat Streaky, wanting to eat the bunny. He's mean. But yeah, for me, I have Mr. Mxyzptlk.
Oh.
This is #1, part of New Year's Evil run, and just one shots they threw in there with that New Year's Evil thing that was going on back in the 90s. But the story is the invader from the 10th dimension. Mr. Mxyzptlk's world is in the 5th dimension, and they meet this gal that shows up, and they're all excited to see her and just meet this new human that came to their dimension. And all of a sudden, she's talking to one, and she opens her mouth and basically eats the little guy. And they're like, what the heck? And all of a sudden, she turns into this purple, like, electronic type giant beast. And we find out that she goes around and she eats dimensions.
Wow.
Much like someone else we know that likes to eat different planets.
Right.
And her plan is to eat all 10 dimensions. And I don't know what she's going to do then, because then all the dimensions will be gone. She'd be gone and everything, but she has some other ideas about it. But she's like, yeah, I'm going to eat all the different characters, and they all got their own Mxyzptlk type names. uh, Tons of different ones they rattle off in here, and I'm not even going to try to say them. I can barely say Mxyzptlks, but he does what he can to stay away from her. Every time a group of them are getting eaten, he gets away just in time and keeps trying to figure out what he's going to do. And he goes into his house, and he's got himself a pretty cool. And there's this little house of Mxyzptlks, looks like a spray can with his little big giant hat on it. But he's got his own comic book collection in there. And it's like these giant comics. And he's got this ability where he can jump in and out of the comics. So while they're battling away, he's jumping into different comics, and they have basically parodies of all the characters that we've known over time in the comics. The one he goes into has a bunch of these different types of characters, all kinds of different abilities. He talks them into going after her and battling her and trying to save the world. Bubble Boy's part of that crew and stuff. He's the only one I knew. But yeah, they basically get eaten by her. So he jumps out of that comic, jumps into another comic, gets those characters to help him, and we just happen to have basically characters that we would recognize from the Justice League, but they're all different. They're like Bizarro is non-Bizarro and all that stuff. They got all these different abilities and stuff with them, and they don't have any luck with her. We get he's got like an Aquaman book, a Young Heroes in Love book, and he just keeps bouncing through all of them to try and save the day. And one I really enjoyed was, I liked how they labeled this, but it's Jack Krypton's farce world instead of Jack Kirby's fourth world.
Oh.
Stuff like that. But he goes into one book that's Lobo's nephews, and they're just a bunch of evil little shits. And they come out and they instantly beat the crap out of Mxyzptlk. Poor guy. But he's like, no, I need you to go after this purple gal that's trying to devour everything. So they go crazy, battling away. Of course, they get her down once, think that they beat her, and then she comes back and attacks him. He's got Shazam books, just a variety of a parody for a good variety of the different characters that we really enjoy. But in the end, he gets into a comic that has a Sandman type character in there, and basically he starts doing his little quotes and basically puts her to sleep, and then they do some things to put her somewhere where she will be safely out of the way from devouring any other universes and stuff. But this is really fun. It's another one that I couldn't remember if I read back in the day, and I was gonna look it over quick to see if I was gonna put it for sale, but nope, that one's staying in the pile too.
Nice.
So check out Mr. Mxyzptlk, or however you want to say it.
I don't even attempt to say it, so I'll just let you say it. So
Yeah, you can't screw it up unless you're trying to get rid of them. Then you want to make them say it backwards.
Right.
all right, we have another pick from D. Brad. What you got?
This one is the opposite of this one. That one is small. This one is large, and this is like in the style of the French albums. They call them like your Tintin and Asterix would be bigger size, and usually they'd have a lot more panels for the size. And this one's called. This was a French. So this was a French book, uh, drawn by an Italian. There's always Italian uh, artists on these Disney books, and this one is a Mickey Mouse adventure that includes Goofy and Minnie Mouse. and it takes place in a dystopian world. It's kind of a steampunk vibe to it, and the villain is the classic villain Pete. Um, and I think he'd actually call him Steampunk Pete. So yeah, so basically, Goofy, Mickey, and Minnie are scavengers, and I guess they kind of like they're looking for fuel, and they found some fuel that's frozen in the ocean, and they're trying to get to it. So it's got art that looks like it's been painted art. So it's just beautiful. Look at.
Hmm.
That's how it starts off. So it's like a French comic where it all looks painted and that's how many panels it has per page there. So it's quite a bit of story on the page. Look at this underworld, which is beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. There's another French album of Donald Duck that I haven't gotten yet. But here's some kind of steampunk stuff with the hot air balloons and things like that. Um, and there's one. Check this out. The design in the city or whatever it is.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous to look at. And so yeah, I just love to read this and look over it. It's an epic adventure. So it's got everything that you want to happen will happen in it. And the only critique I would have for it is I want more. So it does have about 60 pages. It's about 60 pages. And I'm hoping they'll do more than one volume. But Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean, it just came out. I think it's already sold out, and so they have to get some more in.
How many did you buy that it sold out? Jeez.
I only bought one.
Okay.
Wasn't me, honest. But they're both of these are by Fantagraphics.
Graphics.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
It looks like
I'm sure they'll get more in.
And it looks like that last one takes advantage of the bigger trim size for the paintings.
Yeah. Yeah. That I don't think that one would work in a smaller size too well.
All right. To round off my Summer of Superman reviews, I'm jumping over to Krypto, the Last Dog of Krypton, #1. There will come a day when Krypto stands beside Superman, helping him fight off monsters, aliens, and supervillains. A day when this dog will save his adoptive world thanks to the incredible powers granted to him by the Earth's strange yellow sun. But he's not there yet. Today, Krypto is a normal puppy on Krypton, spending each happy, snoozy, endless day alongside his family, Jor-El, Lara, and baby Kal-El. But when a rocket test goes wrong, Krypto finds himself lost in space. That was my own inflection on that. And soon crash landing all alone on a strange and alien world called Earth. This comic is done by Ryan North, Mike Norton, Ian Herring, and Lucas Gattoni. All right. So I was glad that I waited on those first two books that came out in like May, because this one is a more recent release here, and saving these to hype up the Superman movie release, which is going to see Krypto in a live action form. So here we go. Once again, just like Superman and Supergirl, this does a good job. If you know nothing about this dog, this is a good, entry level story, especially when you're sold on this adorable snoozy version right there off the bat of Krypto hanging out on Krypton, just catching Z's, just hanging around. There's baby Kal-El and Jor-El's arms there. You're just getting, just everyday little life from Krypto. The background scenes or the story plot of this is that Jor-El is talking about the impending doom, the quakes that are going to happen on Krypton. It's going to eventually lead to their demise. And there's people, like when they go out for walks with other people and their dogs, nobody else seems worried or stressed or at all alerted that this is going to be a problem. They don't think the world's going to end, but Jor-El believes that something is going to happen. So him and his wife are talking it over. They're trying to come up with these plans, trying to figure out what they can do to not only save their family, but also save their planet. Here's another very adorable picture here, splash page. Another reason to check out Crimson Cowl on YouTube so you can see baby Kal-El and Krypto all snuggled together there. All right, so this is the setup. The classic story of sending off, Kal-El in a shuttle to save the planet. But before any of that happens, you have to test that technology. So this story is talking about testing these emergency shuttles. The unfortunate part, it just comes into, when you're dealing with like animal cruelty and all that kind of stuff, is that, hey, let's put the dog in the shuttle and send him off. But, maybe it's just a little different with your Krypto. I don't know what kind of intelligence he has on the planet prior to getting super Earth power sun, powers. I'm not sure, if he's just treated as a normal dog. We get the impression that he is just a normal animal here on their planet. But knowing that he's Krypto, the super dog, you can go into the story feeling a little more at ease that that Krypto is going to be okay. So that is something I will spoil, is that the dog is okay, everybody. But he is sent off into the shuttle, and let me get some good images here. So he's in the shuttle, and while he's a little scared here, you get a little close up. He's a little worried about being sent off the planet, but they are connected. Jor-El and Laura are connected through the video screens. So when Krypto notices them, he gets very excited. So you get a lot of good excitement there. But as you would imagine, something goes wrong, and which is eventually going to leave Krypto into landing here on Earth. So just to show a little example of that artwork there. Now, once again, this is all very classic storytelling, very much of the origin of Krypto the Superdog, and it doesn't veer off too much from his origin until the last page reveal, which I don't want to say here. We do talk spoilers from time to time. I always like to kind of leave something for, interest for people to pick up the books. And the origin story, from what I understand, gets twisted in the end of this comic here. It leads to a very exciting, once again, doing a very good job of being like, oh, I want to see what this next one's gonna, where we're gonna go. Not knowing, knowing that this was a mini series, I did go ahead and buy the pre-order the issues individually. With Superman, knowing that presumptuously it's going to be an ongoing series for quite some time. Dan Slott has a history of writing characters for a long time, so maybe he's going to do that for Superman. We don't know. But I did buy the individual issues for Krypto, so I'll be reading his story much sooner than the other books. But it is a very interesting turn to kind of see what kind of twist they're going to do with this origin story of Krypto when he lands on Earth. Let's see, what else do I want to tease here, if there's anything else. Oh yeah, Ryan North. So Ryan North, traditionally a very comedic writer. This book doesn't have a lot of comedy in it. Not saying he can't do that, he only has to do comedy. He also did a run on the Fantastic Four, which I haven't read that one, but I assume he still probably brought some seriousness to the family dynamic here. But this, to his credit, wouldn't feel like a Ryan North book in that sense, where I see his name on a book, I'm expecting to get some laughs. There isn't a lot of that in here. It's not all doom and gloom, but I'm just saying, just based on a comedic writer that I'm used to, it's an interesting dynamic and a very good, well done to diverse himself into this role here. And Mike Norton being the artist here, he's a dog lover. He loves dogs. So who better than Mike Norton to jump in and get the draw Krypto? At the time of this recording, Mike Norton is Just wrapped up a signing at Oh Yeah Comics in beautiful downtown Skokie, hanging out with Art Baltazar and Joe Crone and all the people over at Oh Yeah to celebrate the release of Krypto here. Mike Norton's a close friend to the shop and Art Baltazar and all that crew. So it's fun to have him, him being there at the store, getting to draw dogs, having it be in the DC universe, and hanging around with the Oh Yeah guys. So yeah, that is Krypto, the Last Dog of Krypton, to close out my summer of Superman reviews. I am super, super excited for the Superman movie. I've got 2 screenings booked for opening weekend. Good chance I'll probably go a third time that opening weekend. I am so charged up for everything that's happening with the previews, the clips, the actors, everything I'm seeing. I am so jazzed for this. So we do have one more review here from Kirby. What you got?
I got from the Spawn universe, The Curse of Sherlee Johnson. I just want to say Sheree, and it's not the weirdest spelling for me in my head. But this one I was really interested in because I read all the early Spawns. I have almost the whole run. I don't remember her not being helped by Spawn, but I remember the whole thing with her being kidnapped, the guy torturing her and stuff. And I believe it's they say it in here, issue 5 of Spawn, where the whole battle happens. But basically, she gets kidnapped by this guy, and he just tortures her and stuff, cuts her fingers off, sticks her in a refrigerator that he covers with chains. You see that in the beginning images. And she's locked in that refrigerator, and she's basically stuck having to relive this over and over and over. It's one of my biggest nightmares is being locked in a box and buried alive. She's basically locked in a refrigerator that only has so much oxygen. So she's alive until the oxygen goes and she chokes off and dies and has to re-go through this over and over and over because they do show you the battle with Spawn and him and how Spawn beats the guy, but he never went back to let her out of the fridge. And I could have swore that she did get released, but now I got to go back and reread it. But yeah, sadly, she's basically stuck in hell, and she's reliving this nightmare over and over and over, and she gets out a little bit each time. Well, for the longest time, she's just stuck in the fridge, getting a few breaths of air and then dying off, coming back, going through everything again, and then dying off. But all of a sudden, she gets out of the fridge, gets a little further, things happen, she has to go through stuff repeatedly to figure out where she is, what's going on, and all that stuff. But while she's escaped, she's got these hellhounds after her, and all kinds of other things chase her, and she doesn't realize that she's stuck in hell herself, and that's why she's reliving these nightmares. But she's got the clown makeup, and I didn't think the clown appeared as early as issue 5, but he must have, and must have had some connection to either the guy that kidnapped her or whatever. But for some reason, she's stuck with that paint job on her face. But she keeps, and there's just beautiful artwork throughout this. I just love this book. It's a nice thickie, good story, solid story. But she's got her little teddy bear T that she drags along with her, and they're constantly talking back and forth. She's protecting Teddy T. But then she comes across this guy who is dealing with his own things, and she gets in some more trouble, and she cries out for help, and he decides to help her with the hellhounds and take those out. And then they end up kind of get it. He kind of explains to her that, and she's like, I just want to go home. And he's like, well, we are home. We're stuck in hell. I mean, this is all we have from now on. You're just going to constantly, repetitively be tortured, relive your life. Here's the main. None of them are really hell spawns in here. The guy that helps her out is completely against hell spawns, but this character's talking to someone in this castle, or it's this big figure, I'm guessing, and he wants him to go after the girl. And I just love this. There's just so much great imagery of her with that clown face and her hair done up. It's just, yeah, I really like what they did with that. But you get to see them continue through hell, traveling through hell, and trying to find if there is a way for her to escape what she went through. And then we also get to see an angel that also has some interest in her. And we don't get to find out what connections they have. And even the demons in hell notice that she's a little different. So there's some, I'm guessing she's on the heaven side, but stuck in hell just because of how she died. But yeah, there is a lot of strange creatures in this book that she comes across. But very interesting. They travel through, and I'm curious what's going to happen because she basically keeps getting a little bit further, and then things happen, and she has to go right back to the beginning and start fresh. And I would assume that Spawn's going to show up and find out what happened and that he missed out on saving her back then, and then basically just cursed her because of it. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting story. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Hopefully, it'll be a shorter run because the Spawn stories that I did think were going to be like 12 to 24 issues, I'm already on like Gunslinger number 43 and stuff like that. So they've been going crazy with them. I'd like to see this story at least get a ending, or at least get us somewhere, and then they can start a new story with her. So I think she'd be an awesome character with the clown face and the clown's little minions. I could see her controlling the minions, and that'd be pretty fun watching them going around just taking out the baddies. But we'll see.
Cool. All right, well then that is going to do it for the weekly reviews as well as the show. CrimsonCowl.com for info and original webcomics. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes for the audio version. Subscribe, rate, and review. If you want the full video version, jump over to YouTube. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube. Hit subscribe over there. Kirby, you have Under the Call of MS. You want to talk about what's been happening over there?
Yeah, I got at least 5 days worth of shows that have been popping up, and now I'm back. I'm also back doing some live shows with people that you can find in my live category on my YouTube channel. So check that out. And I think this will probably come out after it, but starting this week, I'm going to be back to doing claim sales for comic books on Mondays. So we got like 2 or 3 people that take turns selling comics, and there's some great deals. Most of us do free shipping, so pick yourself up some good stuff.
Cool. So yeah, follow Under the Call of MS over on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast, and Instagram and Facebook and all that fun stuff. I have some art accounts on Facebook and Instagram. Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch. Myself and our guest, D. Brad Gibson, we're part of Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. Some of our recent episodes, we had Dave Scheid on the show. So we had him on the show. Then we introduced Draw from Memory game based off of Art Baltazar and Jamie Cosley doing that on Art Show. We were given 5 random pop culture characters, and we drew them from memory. So you can watch that episode of Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube. And possibly by the time this is out, this Crimson episode, we have recorded an episode with our most recent guest, Dax Gordine, who is creator of the Forest Folk webcomic. And he's done some work with Scotty Young with I Hate Fairyland and some the giant size Little Marvels, and he's done some good stuff. So we talk to Dax and hang out and draw with Dax Gordine on an episode that'll either be out right now or very shortly. And in order to check that out, you have to subscribe to Cartoonist by Night over on YouTube and check out a bunch of us drawing. D. Brad Gibson, you have your art over on Instagram. So if you follow D. Brad Gibson, you can see all of his beautiful artwork, most of which is drawn right there on our show. So yeah, good stuff over there. And if you want to buy my comics, latchkeykid at gmail.com, LAATSCH, latchkeykid at gmail.com. And that goes to with other Crimson Cowl Media comics from David Gloyd, and in a past interview on the Crimson Cowl YouTube with Ara Marcone. She has her own comics as well. If you're interested in any of those, you can reach out to me there or the Crimson Cowl. Just reply, email, whatever, and we'll make sure to get those comics out to you. All self-published comics, so we appreciate the support. All right, I think that is going to do it then. Once again, thank you, D. Brad, for joining us once again for some Donald Duck related comics.
Awesome. Thank you.
And we'll hope to see you again for some Goofy as we.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So we'll reach out to you again when those issues come out.
All right.
And thank you, everyone else, for being on the show, too, week by week. So.
You too.
Oh, thank you. And I don't know where that other guy went. I had to step away for a little bit, so I'm glad that, that person's not here to try to end the show because they don't know how to do it. But I do. Because this whole time, I've been the king of monsters.
I am Iron Duck in hell.
I've been pretty nice fans.
I'm Comet the Super Horse.
I've been doing yard work in my Iron Duck suit.
To be continued.